Now, when I purchase watches, I've made some great buying decisions. Bought some fantastic watches. I've also bought some watches which were probably some poor buying decisions. But then occasionally I buy a watch that is an outstanding decision. A decision to buy a watch that is absolutely the right thing to do. And the watch that I'm going to share with you today, the watch that I'm going to fully review, is one of those outstanding watches, the ones that I'm so happy that I made that decision to press that buy now button. Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I'm talking about watches. And today I'm doing my full in-depth review of my Roland bronze watch, a watch that was on my AliExpress wish list longer than any other watch ever has been, well over a year. And I was on that wish list for well over a year because of the price. This watch cost me 490 Australian dollars, and for me, 490 Australian dollars on an AliExpress watch feels like it's a little bit too expensive. But I want to talk about the price, but I'm going to do it at the end of the video. What I can tell you though is I'm so glad that I did make that decision, because it's turned out to be one of my favorite watches, a watch that I love wearing, that I love the look of, and I think is an outstanding investment for that sort of money. And if by the end of this video you are thinking the same thing, well, I'm going to leave an affiliate link down below that would take you to this watch. If you choose to use it, thank you so much. I do earn a tiny little bit of commission. And guys, if you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed to the channel, would you mind clicking on that subscribe button? It makes a huge difference to me and it costs you absolutely nothing. But let's now flip the camera around and do my full in-depth review of my Roland bronze watch. So my Roland F008, on paper, you're getting a few things for your money. You're getting a bronze case diver with 200 meters of water resistance, powered by PT5000 and with a sapphire crystal. And you're also getting a watch that I think looks particularly good. In the package, we're also getting a warranty card that has actually been filled out and a little strap changing tool, which I'm not sure why you would use it because the strap on this is fantastic. But I actually bought this watch for two specific reasons. Firstly is those looks, because when you look closely at this dial of this watch, it is something rather special. And although this is technically a homage watch, it is definitely homaging a watch, it's not exactly homaging a watch, because there is no bronze, this sort of style dial with the watch that it is homaging. In fact, I like the look of this one more than the watch it is homaging, because when we look closely at that dial, not only is there a slight texture to it, and a texture that's been done very well, but it starts as sort of a bronze color and it works its way out to an almost black, which is quite incredible, especially then when you match it in with the bronze case, this polished bronze hands, and those sort of patinaed markers. It is rather special. The second reason I bought this one was the sizing of it, because this is a 39 millimeter case diameter. It is 12.3 millimeters thick, lug to lug of 47.2, a 20 millimeter strap width there, and on this strap, which you're never going to take it off, or if you did, I'd be surprised, it is 95 grams. But let's come back to this dial, because there is something special about it. Where there's not too much going on, you'll see that there's some white on the dial. That Roland sort of anchor there, it's molded into that dial, as well as this text that's molded into this dial, but it is then sort of colored white so it stands out. That outer minute track there is a slightly off-white, and it's almost sort of a color that's sort of in between the white and the color of those markers. Those markers are raised. I'm not actually sure if they're sort of a part of that molding of that dial or if they've been applied. I get the feeling that they might be molded into there, but they are a real 3D effect to them. And they have lume on them, the same color as what's within those hands. And that lume, surprisingly, is really good. Let's look at it now, because this is not something that I was expecting from this watch. I wasn't expecting the lume to be as nice as it is. What I do like is when you turn it on at a bit of an angle there, you'll see the bronze on the inside of that inner chapter ring, nice and shiny with those nice shiny hands. Nice long minute hand there, obviously a snowflake style hour hand, long second hand, all bronze as well, which really then matches the theme of the color of this watch. Covered by a double dome sapphire crystal, and it is very, very nice to see that double dome sapphire crystal over this beautiful dial. And it's surrounded by a ceramic bezel insert. It's black, and it's got some markers and bits and pieces that are sort of set down into it. Now, initially when I got this watch, I was a little bit unsure about the bezel action. What I have to say is actually it is really nice. I'm actually very happy with it. 120 click unidirectional, no backplay whatsoever. It is, however, slightly misaligned. I've been checking it a few times. It's only so slightly off that it's almost difficult to see that it is, but if you really look closely, it's slightly to the right there. It hasn't bothered me because just at a glance, I don't see it. I really have to look closely to see that it's not quite right. Now, I talked about the case being 39mm. It's actually slightly more than that as a sort of size because that bezel sort of overhangs just a small fraction, hardly at all, just enough that it's a nice amount of little grip there as you grab it. It's a very fine sort of edge there, coin edge bezel, really nice and easy to grab onto. Definitely not going to knock it either. Now, being bronze, it is a relatively simple finish to the case there. We're not really expecting too much because it's the patina that gives it the interest factor, and I really like how it's patinaed. It's gone fairly nicely coloured, fairly uniform coloured as well, but there's a few little touches here and there where it sort of breaks it up. But what is a real big standout feature of this as well is how it has these integrated lugs that are also bronze. Really gives this a really cool look. Now, we do have a signed screw down crown. I really like the anchor there, the Roadland anchor. Inside here we have a PT 5000 movement, which does mean it being a no date watch, it does have a ghost position unfortunately, but it certainly does have hand winding, and past that ghost position it also has hacking. It's always interesting to see what the PT 5000s are like when they're on the time grapher, so let's see how this one's performing. Well, I'm really happy with those set of figures. You can see it's a high beat movement running at 28,800 vibrations per hour, virtually no beat error, nice healthy amplitude, and running just a couple of seconds above zero. For a PT 5000, that's fantastic. For any movement, that's a fantastic set of figures, so I'm very happy with that. Now, it's not really worth spending much time on that case back because it's fairly simple, but as you can see, it's stainless steel, so it's not going to colour the back of your wrists. You will see, however, looking down here, those integrated lugs are solid, and we've got a quick release spring bar, so you can actually swap this strap out and sort of keep those integrated lugs in there, which is quite nice, but you can also remove those integrated lugs if you choose to do so. Not sure why you do, because I think it's one of the standout features of this one. The strap itself is incredible. I love the look and the color, love the stitching. It is 100% leather, which is nice. The keepers are nice. You can see it's unfinished on the side, which gives it a little bit of a rustic look. The only thing I'm going to say about it is because it's probably so thick, it slightly outweighs the watch. Initially, it did take me a little while to get used to it. It felt a little bit thick for the size of this watch. I have, however, let that settle in, and I'm perfectly comfortable with that thickness of this strap on this watch. But it's something to be aware of, because you may, if you buy this watch, notice, oh, that feels a bit thick. Just give it a little bit of time. One thing, however, you'll notice is we've got bronze hardware here. This is not the original hardware. The one that came with it is also bronze, so it is patinaing nicely, but it has this weird sort of flaring amount, and I didn't really like it. So I ended up buying another one off AliExpress. It only cost a few dollars, and I think it actually suits this watch a little bit better. So now on wrist, because this is quite a thick strap, you'll notice a bit of bulk down here. I don't notice it when I'm actually wearing it, unless I actually look at it. So it's not sort of getting in the way, but there's definitely a little bit of bulk there. But because of this sort of case dimensions, it fits and sits on wrist very, very nicely. It's definitely a set of dimensions which really suit my 6 3/4 or around about 17 centimeter wrist really well. I do sometimes buy some bigger watches, but realistically, when I wear watches this size, I realize that this is something that really suits me. So what do I like about this watch? What don't I like about it? And what would I change? Well, firstly, I love the dial. I love the look of this watch, but I love the textured dial, that bronze colors, that sort of a coppery color turning into a dark faded black, with those bronze accents, bronze case. Now, bronze is not really my go-to material for watches. I only have 2 of them in the collection, but it really suits this watch, and I really, really do like it. I have to admit, I also really love these integrated solid lugs. I wish, to be honest, more watches that came on straps had those, because I think it looks absolutely fantastic and really sort of gives a little bit more sort of integration into the watch. I think it looks great. There's a couple of things I probably don't like about it. You may see there on the crown stem, it is stainless steel, and there is a little bit of a gap. You don't notice it when you're wearing it so much, when it's sitting on your wrist, but if you're holding the watch like this, sometimes that little glitters at me, and I do sort of see that. I understand why it's stainless steel, but I think it would have been nice if they could set it back just 0.5 millimeter. It would have fixed that. Obviously, the bezel alignment would have been better if it was perfect as well. So those couple of things I would change. It'd be nice to integrate that in just a touch more and fix that bezel alignment. But really, the only thing that I really actually want to change about this is that because it is a no-date watch, it would be nice to have a no-date movement. It is a small thing and doesn't bother me too much, But if it was to change something, that would be it. But this was not the cheapest watch that I've bought, and certainly not the cheapest watch I've bought from AliExpress. And it's one of the reasons why I didn't race to buy it, even though I really liked it, and even though I kept it on my wish list for a very long time. So I want to talk about that price a little bit more. Let's flip back to me and talk price. At 490 Australian dollars, this watch felt way too expensive. It felt way too expensive for what it sort of looked like on the listing on AliExpress, but to be honest, it felt sort of too much money for an AliExpress watch, which is why it sat on my wish list for so long. But as soon as I made that decision to buy it, as soon as it arrived on my doorstep, I started to understand why it cost this amount of money. It's because it's something rather special. So in hand, that price actually felt much more right to me versus before where I was thinking it was a little bit too expensive. And if I was going to buy in something else that was this sort of quality, had the sort of details of this watch, for that sort of money, I'm actually struggling to find a comparable watch to share with you. A bronze watch with those integrated lugs, with that sort of style dial, with a PT 5000 movement, well, I don't know what else I could compare it against. Honestly, I'm not going to say that this is a bargain. This is not like a really, really underpriced watch. Not at all. But I think it's actually priced right. And if you like this watch, and I'd be surprised if there aren't people out there that like this watch because it's such a good looking watch, then it may well be worth spending that money. I can certainly say that I was happy spending that money. And if you've enjoyed this full in-depth review of this lovely watch, well, maybe you'll enjoy these videos too.